Stacey is here to share a little bit about herself and her story navigating sleep apnea. So I will hand over to her to just briefly introduce herself. If anyone has questions throughout, please feel free to add it in the comments. And Stacey will do her best to get you an answer. So Stacey, with that, I'll hand it off to you.
Yeah, thanks, Bianca. Thanks for having me today. I'm Stacey. I am living in the suburbs of Minneapolis, Minnesota. I'm in my late 40s. I have a husband and we have a blended family. So we have 2 kids in college and 2 in high school. We have a dog that's 9 years old, and so a busy household. And then I also work a full-time corporate job in the health and wellness space. And then part-time, I'm an author. So very busy, lots of balls up in the air all the time.
No shortage of things to do, it sounds like. So I guess to kick us off and get started, we'll kind of set the scene here and start at the beginning. So what symptoms were you experiencing, or what was the reason that you actually thought about getting tested for sleep apnea?
So I have been remarried for about 6 years now. And in the beginning of our marriage, I was only snoring a little bit. But then, I don't know, maybe it was closer to the pandemic and, life changes and hormones and weight and all that stuff started creeping on. And I started snoring a lot more. And then my husband would say things like, I was really worried last night. You stopped breathing for a while. I had a hard time sleeping because I was worried you were going to stop breathing. And I would just be like, oh, I had an exhausted day. Maybe it was a couple of glasses of wine. I would have other, explanations for that didn't really happen kind of thing. Or like you're hearing things or it's just sporadic. It's not a big deal. And then he recorded me one night and I was like, that sounds horrible. And it just sounded like I was gasping for air. And then whenever I would go on girls' trips, my friends in the morning would be like, wow, I couldn't sleep because you were snoring so loud. Or did you know you actually stopped breathing, a couple times? And I was like, oh, this is kind of embarrassing. And it wasn't, I kind of known this for a couple of years. And I think just over the years, I got even more exhausted. And I had gone to the doctor, unrelated, but as she was talking to me about like my increase in cholesterol and blood pressure and weight and just all these things were happening, but there was it's not like I didn't have a thyroid issue. I wasn't, diabetes. She ruled out all these other things. And she just said, you really need to concentrate on diet and exercise. And I'm like, but I'm so tired. And I'm just like, thinking about going for a walk even just sounded exhausting. And so she said, do you snore? And I said, yeah. And she said, have you ever thought about getting a sleep study done to see if you have sleep apnea? And I was like, yeah, I've thought about it, but it just seemed like such a daunting and overwhelming process to go to like a sleep lab and, all these appointments. And so I was thinking about, how much is this going to cost me, medical insurance, deductible and copays, whatever. And like, when am I going to have time? I don't have time in my busy day to go to all these appointments and do this sleep study. So that's kind of where it led me to GEM.
Okay. And what about GEM made it the right choice for you? So you had said like a lot of things seemed overwhelming. So what made it the right choice?
So I saw something on LinkedIn about GEM sleep and I went on to the website and I was like, oh, I can do this at home. And, it's not a sleep study in a sleep lab. And the fact that I could have my window open at night and have my comfy blankets. And I didn't have to worry about, is somebody watching me sleep? And so just the fact that GEM sent the kind of like the watch. Yeah, you probably could explain like the apparatus that you just have to wear like on the oxygen thing and the watch. I was like, this is really easy. I can do it whenever I want. It came in the mail. And I didn't have to send anything back. And then I could just get my results online. And so it just seemed like such an easy process. and convenient. I could do that in, my own home. So, and it was very convenient.
Awesome. So you mentioned results. So after taking the sleep test and finding out your diagnosis, what was your reaction, or I guess your initial thought process, right? You had seen the symptoms, you had talked to your doctor, but what was your reaction just in finding that out?
So I went online and saw my sleep report. And honestly, I thought I had maybe mild sleep apnea, but it was actually severe obstructive sleep apnea. And I stopped breathing 84 times an hour. And so when I, thought it was just here and there, it actually was severe. So
Yeah.
that explained why I was exhausted all the time.
Yeah. So, I mean, after hearing that, accepting your diagnosis, receiving treatment recommendations, um, what treatment options were you considering? Or with severe, were you geared towards a specific one? Or what at that point in the process, where did you go with treatment?
Yeah, I was hoping I could just do like an oral appliance.
Mhm.
Other friends or colleagues, a lot of them had done that, and I was like, well, that sounds easy. It's just like, I don't know, retainer or something.
Yeah.
And that could have been an option, but because mine was severe obstructed sleep apnea, the provider through GEM said that they recommended the nasal mask with the CPAP machine. And at first, I kind of went into a little, denial and grief period that I would have to, wear this thing. But I was like, you know what? I'll be willing to try anything so that I don't have to go on additional medication for blood pressure and cholesterol and, what have you.
Yeah.
And I just wanted to feel better. Honestly, I was just, tired of hitting snooze. Um,
Yeah.
until sometimes 8:30 in the morning before my 9 a.m. meeting, and then sometimes even having to nap over my lunch because I was so exhausted. And so it was like kind of my like dirty little secret of I was just tired all the time. And so I just went through my GEM sleep coach. Shout out to Suzanne, who did everything for me. She figured out my insurance. She, ordered the CPAP machine for me. It came to my house. I was able to look at videos and resources on the GEM sleep site, and it came with, I think, like DVD and a booklet. And so it was really easy to put together. And so I was like, okay, this isn't bad. And then at first it was really hard to get used to. And I'm such a mouth breather. So just having this over my nose and having to close my mouth
Yeah.
took a little bit of getting used to. I even thought about switching to the full, face one, just because maybe that would be comfortable. But in just keeping on, I would just try it for a couple hours at night and then take it off. And then, but I just found like right away, I felt so much better, even just wearing it for a couple hours at night. And then eventually I got used to it. I mean, it took me a while, but I found out like in the morning, my throat wasn't dry, it wasn't sore, I wasn't, raspy from snoring and also having my mouth shut all night. So it was, it was nice to have those benefits right away.
Yeah. So you mentioned the not waking up raspy, but what were some of the other immediate things? Or was that the first thing that you kind of noticed?
That and just feeling a lot more rested, even in a couple hours. And then eventually, when I would wear it even 5 hours at night, I felt like I got 10 hours of sleep, and I was starting to like sleep for that whole time instead of waking up all the time.
Yeah.
And now it's been about a year since I did the sleep study and got my CPAP, and now I'll wear it all the time. I think, I had talked to you about the fact that there was a period this summer where I didn't wear it for like a month, and I just started to get more exhausted. And I got out of the routine because I went on vacation and I didn't take it because I was like, oh, I don't, it's just vacation. But actually, on that vacation, my family was like, you need to bring your sleep pap because they don't sleep very well. So, but then I'm like, all right, I need to, do this again. And so once I fully committed and now I wear it all the time, I am more rested in like 7.5 to 8 hours than I was ever in even trying to sleep 10 hours at night. So I wake up, I don't hit snooze, I'm ready to jump out of bed. It's like amazing how much energy, even at my late 40s, almost 50, that I've gotten a lot more energy back.
That's awesome. I mean, kind of going through this entire process, getting the home sleep test, getting the CPAP, getting used to it, adjusting to it over this past year, were there other people in your life that you talked to about it? Other people that, maybe your friends or family that had sleep apnea or have sleep apnea?
Yeah, I didn't at first want to talk about it. I didn't want to acknowledge it. I wanted to deny, that can't be me.
Mhm.
I honestly, I had thought, this happens mostly to males. And so I knew of quite a few male colleagues or friends that had sleep apnea. And then when I started talking kind of about my journey, a couple of my friends will be like, "Oh yeah, I have the nasal one, or I wear, the oral appliance." And then of course my friends that I had gone on vacation were all for me getting a CPAP machine and bringing it on girls' vacation so that they don't wake up all night long worried about me. Yeah, there was a lot of support. I was also worried about what my husband would think, because it's not really an attractive thing,
Yeah,
but
sure. Sure.
he even sleeps better, and
Yeah.
he never, I guess, blamed me for my snoring, but now he's like, wow, I sleep a lot better now, and he can tell if I like take off my mask early at night that he doesn't sleep as well. So there's benefits for everybody.
Sure. I mean, that's awesome to hear that you found support in so many different areas um, of your life, finding it in colleagues, finding it in friends, finding it in family. Um, I mean, for the people out there right now who are considering getting tested or considering starting treatment, what would you share with them? Just as, something from your perspective or some advice, what would you want to share?
I would say that I wish I wouldn't have waited so long. I knew I I knew in the back of my mind that this was probably the situation. And so I wish I wouldn't have waited because I missed out on a lot of good sleep. And also being in the health and wellness industry, I knew sleep was one of those foundational pillars of, just having a quality life.
Mhm.
Um, I would say also that, like flight attendants always say, put your mask on first, your oxygen mask. And I would
Yeah.
say, we're all busy humans, and I think especially as women, we tend to be taking care of everybody else except for ourselves. And so I would strongly advise women and men, put your oxygen or your CPAP on first. Uh, 'Cause then you're gonna be much better for everybody else.
That's awesome, and a very good analogy tying on the plane. That's
Unintended about the math.
um, well, Stacey, thank you for answering all my questions and sharing so much. I will open it up to anyone who is on the live right now. If you have any questions for Stacey or myself, please feel free to throw it in the comments. But before that, I mean, any parting words, Stacey? Anything else that you'd like to share with our audience? I know that you're in the community. I'm also moderator of the community, so any questions that do come up even after we're live today, we can certainly get answers out to all of you. But yeah, Stacey, any parting words for everyone?
Yeah, I would say, this was my experience. And, if gem sleep was fantastic in just how seamless and convenient it was for me, and just everything was online, through the mail or telephonically. It was nice to have a lifeline in the sleep coach if I had any questions or issues. And so I would say don't wait and put your mask on first.
Awesome. Good advice here for everybody in the community, putting your own mask on first. Thank you, Stacey, so much for joining us and sharing your story. We appreciate it, and I think it's a really good call out to women that not only men are living with this. So thank you so much.
Bianca, I appreciate it.
Absolutely. We got a question in here quick, if you don't mind staying on for another minute here, Stacey. So we have, thanks for sharing your journey. How long did it take you to get used to it?
To be honest, I would probably say a good 4 months. Is probably, I at first I was hesitant, or I would use it just for a couple hours, and I was like, at first, kind of that perfectionism in me was like, if I don't do this all the time, it was kind of like all or nothing. But a couple of friends said, just use it, do what you can, and eventually I ramped up to full night's sleep, and now I can't imagine not wearing it all night long. So
When
it's
you,
you have to hang in there. It's worth it.
how long? So I guess in that first week, what did it look like for you? Was it like 1 to 2 hours, 4 hours at night? Or what did that first week look like in getting used to it?
Yeah, I would say probably an hour or two. It would take me a little while to fall asleep because it was something on my neck. I toss and turn a little bit, but luckily there's a long cord, so I never had an issue with. And I'm mostly a slight sleeper, so sometimes I had to I like to go all the way on the other side, but luckily the cord and the hose is long enough. But yeah, I would just do 1 to 2 hours, whatever I could do. And then sometimes I would take it off, and then I'd wake up, 2, 3 in the morning. And then I'm like, all right, I'll put it on again. And so it just took time to get used to not being a mouth breather. And but eventually I was like, I'm determined to make this work. And because I just knew in a couple hours of having it on, it was beneficial. And something I didn't mention is, but it might be a natural consequence of this, but I now I've lost 20 pounds. I am not on extra medication. My blood pressure is normal. My cholesterol is normal. My husband and I even started playing pickleball. So, I have a lot more energy to, tackle all the things for my health.
So funny that you mentioned all of those because we actually have another question that came in here. So you mentioned your energy has improved. Have you seen other health benefits? So you kind of started on that. Anything else that you would throw in?
Yeah, I think just, the fact that I didn't have to go on other medication, that I do have energy to take my dog for a walk and or extra walks, and even just like meal planning. My doctor would talk to me, you just, meal plan, have, plan your meals, track your food, that kind of thing. And I was like, that just seems exhausting. And so Sunday nights, I prep for the week, at least, lunches, and have an idea of what our family's going to eat. And so I'm just able to do some of those extra things that I was just too exhausted to do.
That's awesome. All right. We don't have any other comments in, but there might come a little bit more here later this evening or in the next few days. So, like I mentioned, we will get back to you in the comments here if you have any questions for Stacey or myself. So, once again, thank you, Stacey, so much for sharing with everyone.
Thanks for helping me get good sleep. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. Have a good night, everyone. We'll see you on the next live.